Welcome everyone to the tie breaks between Peter Leko and Arjun Erigaisi. The game starts off with 1 e4, e5, knight to f3, knight c6, and we have the Ruy Lopez with bishop b5, a6, bishop a4. Arjun goes for this bishop c5 setup, which is very interesting. Pawn to c3 with the idea of d4, and Arjun brings his knight to e7. Now this line is supposed to give white a small edge, but black is usually quite solid. d4, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and you give a check. Peter blocks the check with bishop d2, takes here, and now you can take with the knight. You can also take with the queen, keeping the knight to come up to c3. Queen takes d2, and Arjun breaks in the center with d5. Pushing on e5 is not a great idea. Taking seems like the right way to proceed, because then you can play knight to c3. So he takes, queen takes on d5, and now knight to c3 seems like a very logical move to play. You can also begin with castling. He goes knight c3, and Arjun decides to go queen e6. And this is an important moment here. Knight to e5. Now notice, if you play f6, I can simply go bishop b3 and I'm winning the game. So you can't really win this knight which is pinned. So black castles here, and he goes long castle as well. Wow, what an interesting move this one was by Peter Leko. But this may be part of his preparation. Knight takes e5 and rook h1, a good move played here. Both players at 15 minutes, queen b6, still in their preparation. And now rook takes e5 seems like the right way to go. He takes it. Knight to g6. The rook comes back to e1. And Arjun now brings his bishop to e6, just developing. Now the best move here is d5 and rook d8, and you play h4. But Peter starts with h4, and that's a wrong move order, because what has happened here is that if you start with d5, rook d8 and h4, you cannot take here because of queen g5, attack your knight, and also the pawn, the pin is gone, also the bishop. But when you start here and you take, now rook h1 he plays, it's kind of messed up the move order, because now if d5, there is bishop g4, which is a very interesting move. So not rook d8, rook h1, now knight g6, he goes d5, but already he is now a pawn down. So Peter just misplayed the move order, and this happens quite a lot when you do not play too much. You tend to kind of make errors which are usually uncharacteristic of players who are very active. h6 played, attacking the queen. Queen comes to h5. And now the easiest thing is to save your bishop by bishop d7. And Arjun almost ready there, plays bishop d7. The pawn on f2 is hanging. It's all falling apart. He takes on d7. Rook takes d7. Taken. And now rook to d2. Peter is trying to kind of defend the pawn here, hopefully to push his kingside pawns forward to open some lines. But rook e8, very, very strong move. Maybe coming with rook e5 in g3. And he plays knight to e5. The queen comes to f5. And black plays queen to g6, offering a queen trade. Queen takes g6, f takes on g6. And Peter now plays b3. The knight jumps in to f3. You can see how Arjun, being a pawn up, is still very active and aggressive. Rook comes to f7, defending that knight. King comes to d1. And now you can start pushing your kingside pawns with g5 here. Yes, g5. Later, if you can get your pawns rolling with h5, h4, you can create a very strong passer. Knight goes to a4. And Arjun now plays b6, which stops the knight from coming into c5, eventually into e6. Pawn to d6. That's a nice move by Peter Leko. He's trying to get in with his rook here. But if rook takes d6, I mean b5 is very strong. So he first takes knight takes b6. Knight jumps into e5, attacking the rook. And you take on d6. Rook takes f2 is falling. And now the a2 pawn is also under attack. So he plays rook d2, trying to defend here. But Arjun is just too strong. He goes knight g4. And if you take the rook, I take with the knight with a fork. So he plays knight to c4, bringing the knight back into the game. And Arjun avoids the rook trade. He goes rook f3, attacking g3. Rook g1, defending the pawn. And so h5, rook comes to d5. And now knight f2 check. Peter goes king to c1. And Arjun now is going to enter in with his rook. The rook reaches the 7th rank, rook e2. Now a2 is hanging, so knight comes back to d2. And Arjun now has many different ways to play to finish off the game. I guess the best move is to give a check. And he does it. Rook c3, king to b2. And now a very strong move, knight e4. Here, knight e4 is very good, and he plays it. Knight e4, defends the rook, attacks the knight on d2. Fantastic chess here. Peter Leko in big trouble here. And now g3 is hanging. d2 is pinned and under pressure. And I think there's nothing much more that he can do here. He's also running out of time on the clock. And seeing all of this, Peter is left helpless. He resigns. Arjun Erigaisi leads the match 1-0 and needs now just a draw with the white pieces, which should not be very difficult. But this one was a move order mix-up by Peter at the start, for which he had to pay a heavy price.